Massive stone pyramids rise from deserts and jungles across the world. The Great Pyramid of Giza and the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico are separated by an ocean, yet they share a hidden architectural language. This video will reveal the secret geometric code that connects these ancient monuments, a discovery that rewrites our understanding of human history. We will uncover how cultures with no known contact built structures aligned to the same stars and encoded with the same complex math. How did this knowledge span the globe, and what does it say about a lost chapter in our past? What does this hidden connection make you wonder about the ancient world? This precise mathematical harmony echoes in the pyramids of the ancient world, a silent code written in stone. The golden ratio, a number roughly equal to 1.618, is found in the very structure of life itself. You can see it in the elegant spiral of a galaxy, the unfurling pattern of a fern, and the perfect proportions of a seashell. It is a formula for beauty that nature repeats. Incredibly, the builders of the Great Pyramid of Giza embedded this exact same principle into their colossal creation. The relationship between its sloping side length and half of its base length gives us a figure incredibly close to phi, the golden ratio. This was not a random act of construction. It was a deliberate act of encoding. Even more remarkably, this mathematical fingerprint is not unique to Egypt. When we look across the Atlantic to the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico, we find its dimensions also whispering the same sacred number. Architects and researchers such as Georgi have long argued that this ratio produces an innate sense of balance and perfection, a visual music that resonates with the human eye. So we are left with a profound question. How did cultures who supposedly never met, building pyramids separated by thousands of years and an entire ocean, both choose this same complex, irrational number as the blueprint for their greatest monuments? It is as if they were all listening to the same cosmic instructions, a universal design principle understood by master builders worldwide. This shared mathematical language points to a unified vision of the cosmos, a hidden thread we are only just beginning to trace. And as we follow this thread, it leads us directly to the stars above. This geometric code was not confined to the Earth, but was projected onto the heavens. These ancient architects were also master astronomers, turning their stone monuments into perfect celestial observatories. The Great Pyramid of Giza itself is aligned to true north with an accuracy that still baffles surveyors. But the celestial connection runs even deeper. The three Great Pyramids of Giza are arranged on the ground in a pattern that perfectly mirrors the three bright stars of Orion's belt in the sky. This idea, explored by researchers like Robert Bovell, suggests the Egyptians were mapping the cosmos on a colossal scale. They built a permanent reflection of the heavens in the desert sands. This phenomenon is not unique to Egypt. Far across the world, in the ancient city of Teotihuacan in Mexico, we find a similar story written in stone and alignment. The entire layout of its major structures, including the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, corresponds with a model of our solar system. The pyramids and temples are positioned to represent the Sun and the planets, with their distances from a central point reflecting the relative distances of these celestial bodies from our Sun. This was not a random city plan. It was a deliberate, scaled map of the cosmos. These alignments served a vital, practical purpose. By tracking the movement of the sun, moon, and stars across these stone markers, ancient priests could predict the solstices and equinoxes with stunning precision. This knowledge was the foundation of their society, It told them exactly when to plant and when to harvest, governing the agricultural cycles that sustained entire civilizations. It also dictated the timing of sacred rituals, connecting their spiritual life directly to the rhythm of the universe. The sheer accuracy of these orientations, achieved millennia before the invention of the telescope, presents us with an undeniable mystery. How could cultures separated by an ocean and thousands of years possess such identical, sophisticated understanding of the stars? It implies that this astronomical data was not independently discovered over and over, but was part of a shared, inherited knowledge. This points directly toward a common source of wisdom, a foundational school of thought that taught both sacred geometry and celestial mechanics. And when we examine how these pyramids were actually built, the mystery only deepens. The sheer scale of these monuments is matched only by the mystery of their assembly. How do you move a stone block weighing as much as 50 tons across miles of desert and then lift it hundreds of feet into the air? The Great Pyramid of Giza alone is composed of over 2 million such blocks, each one cut and fitted with a precision that leaves gaps thinner than a credit card. This was not brute force. This was a level of engineering finesse that seems to defy its own time. Across the ocean, the Maya builders achieved a similar miracle. Their pyramids, like the towering temple of the Great Jaguar at Tikal, were constructed using corbel vaulting. This technique involves stacking stones so that each level slightly overlaps the one below, gradually leaning inward to form a remarkably stable arch, all without a single drop of mortar. These structures have endured centuries of jungle humidity and powerful earthquakes, a testament to their brilliant and resilient design. The common challenge for all these cultures was the movement and placement of colossal stones with an accuracy that rivals our modern engineering. How was this possible? Mainstream archaeology points to ingenious, albeit immense, ramp systems and the coordinated labor of thousands. Yet, the evidence for these ramps is surprisingly scarce, and the logistics of maneuvering multi-ton blocks up such inclines remain hotly debated. This gap in our understanding has fueled alternative theories. Some researchers suggest the use of lost technologies, perhaps involving the manipulation of sound waves to levitate stone, or a forgotten understanding of anti-gravity principles that allowed builders to make massive weights seem light. While these ideas sound like science fiction, they highlight a very real and persistent puzzle. The convergence of such advanced construction mastery in isolated parts of the world stretches the idea of independent invention to its breaking point. It is one thing for two cultures to both invent the wheel. It is something else entirely for them to independently discover how to build a flawless, multi-million stone structure aligned to the stars. This profound similarity in capability, not just in style, forces us to ask a daring question. Could these parallel achievements point to a shared teacher, a precursor civilization of master builders whose advanced knowledge was scattered across the globe after a great cataclysm? This is a controversial theory, and one we must examine with a critical eye next. The theory of a lost precursor civilization offers a controversial but compelling answer to these global mysteries. The story of Atlantis, first recorded by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, describes a powerful and technologically advanced island nation that sank beneath the ocean in a single day and night. For proponents like author Graham Hancock, this is not mere myth, but a fragmented memory of a real seafaring culture. This advanced society, they argue, possessed a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and engineering, which they shared with emerging cultures across the globe before their own civilization was erased by a cataclysm. This idea of a global reset finds a potential anchor in hard science. geologists have identified evidence of a cataclysmic event around 12,800 years ago, known as the Younger Dryas impact. This theory suggests that a comet or asteroid fragment struck the Earth, triggering a mini ice age, massive floods, and the extinction of many large animals. If a sophisticated human society existed at that time, such an event could have easily shattered it, scattering its survivors and their knowledge to the winds. This timeline aligns eerily with the sudden and simultaneous emergence of pyramid building and advanced astronomy in cultures like ancient Egypt and Mesoamerica, which appear to spring forth seemingly fully formed. The hypothesis posits that these were not independent inventions, but the rediscovery or preservation of a much older, shared inheritance. Mainstream archaeology remains deeply skeptical, pointing to a lack of concrete evidence for such a global civilization and emphasizing the incredible capacity for human innovation. Yet, the geometric and astronomical parallels we have already seen are so precise, so mathematically sophisticated, that dismissing them as pure coincidence becomes a challenge in itself. How could so many cultures, in isolation, all choose the same irrational number to define their holiest structures and map the same constellations onto their sacred ground? The Precursor theory, while speculative, provides a narrative that connects these dots across continents and oceans. To truly weigh this idea, we must look even closer at the numbers themselves, at the specific mathematical constants that form the bedrock of this ancient architectural language. The mathematical marvel of the Great Pyramid extends far beyond the golden ratio. Its very shape seems to hold another universal constant, a number fundamental to our understanding of the world. If you take the pyramid's perimeter and divide it by twice its original height, the result is a figure astonishingly close to pi, approximately 3.1416. Pi is the constant we use to calculate the properties of circles, from their circumference to their area. Yet here it is, perfectly encoded within the angles and lines of a massive square-based structure. This is not a simple coincidence of measurement. The precision involved suggests an intentional design, a conscious choice by the architects to embed this profound relationship between linear and circular dimensions into their work. It reveals a level of abstract mathematical thought that we do not typically attribute to a society from 4,500 years ago. The builders were not merely stacking stones. They were writing a complex mathematical language into the landscape, demonstrating a grasp of geometry that feels eerily modern. This discovery forces a dramatic reconsideration of ancient intellectual history. It challenges the linear narrative of human progress, suggesting that a deep understanding of the universe's core principles existed in a time we often label as primitive. And as we will see, this mathematical fingerprint was not confined to the sands of Egypt. The same sophisticated principles of sacred geometry were being applied across the Atlantic, in the heart of the Americas. This same sophisticated mathematics was being applied with breathtaking precision in the heart of Mesoamerica. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan is another monument whispering the secrets of pi. Its base perimeter is almost exactly equal to the circumference of a circle whose radius is the pyramid's own height. This is not a rough approximation. It is a deliberate geometric equation, mirroring the very same principle encoded in the Great Pyramid of Giza thousands of miles away. The architects were once again demonstrating their understanding of the profound relationship between the square and the circle, between the earthly and the divine. Further south, at the magnificent site of Chichen Itza, the Maya constructed El Castillo, a pyramid that is a functioning solar calendar cast in stone. Each of its 4 sides has 91 steps. When you add them all together, you get 364. Then, you must include the final platform at the very summit. This one addition brings the total to 365, a perfect and elegant representation of the solar year. Every equinox, a play of light and shadow, creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid staircase, a fusion of astronomy, geometry, and mythology in a single, stunning spectacle. These choices were far from arbitrary. They were the physical manifestation of a worldview that saw the universe as an ordered, mathematical construct. The cosmos was not chaotic. It was a system governed by ratios and cycles that could be understood, measured, and replicated here on Earth. The very stones of their temples were a language, a way of speaking about time, the heavens, and the nature of creation itself. Why would cultures with no known contact repeatedly choose the same complex numbers and the same celestial patterns to express their deepest beliefs? The repetition of pi and the solar calendar across these vast distances is like finding the same sentence written in two completely different, isolated languages. It points to a common symbolic vocabulary, a shared foundational knowledge of sacred geometry that span the globe. And when we turn our gaze to the Far East, we find this geometric language spoken once more in the ancient pyramids of China. The ancient architectural language of the pyramid was not confined to the West. Far to the east, beneath the rolling hills of China, lies a vast and silent necropolis guarding its own pyramidal secrets. The tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the ruler who unified China, is famously protected by his terracotta army. Yet the greatest mystery remains unexcavated, buried deep within a massive, grass-covered earthen pyramid. This mound and others like it across China were constructed with precise geometric planning and careful celestial orientation, mirroring the practices of distant cultures. Recent satellite surveys have peeled back the veil of time, revealing dozens of these pyramidal structures scattered throughout China. Some are aligned to the cardinal directions with an engineer's precision, while others point deliberately toward sacred mountain peaks or significant stars, weaving the earthly landscape into a cosmic map. This symbolic pattern extends even further into the jungles of Cambodia. The magnificent temple complex of Angkor Wat is not a pyramid in the strictest sense, yet it follows the same profound archetype. Its towering, layered form is a direct architectural representation of Mount Meru, the mythical axis of the world in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. This was not merely a beautiful building, it was a spiritual engine designed to connect the human realm directly to the divine. And this is the thread that binds all these monuments together, from the deserts of Egypt to the plains of China and the temples of Cambodia. It is the universal concept of the pyramid as a cosmic mountain, a man-made peak whose purpose was to bridge the earth and the heavens. How is it possible that this exact same idea, this specific architectural metaphor for connecting worlds, emerged independently across the globe? The global distribution of this symbol points to something deeper than shared blueprints. It suggests a common root in the human psyche itself. Perhaps the pyramid form is an archetype, an innate pattern of thought that arises when humans seek to understand their place in the cosmos. It represents the primordial mountain, the first land to emerge from the waters of chaos, a symbol of stability, order, and ascent. Building a pyramid was not just an act of construction, it was a spiritual imperative, a way to physically manifest humanity's yearning to reach for the stars and touch the divine. This shared dream, carved in stone and earth across continents, may be the most compelling connection of all. This shared spiritual blueprint may be the deepest connection of all. The pyramid form is far more than an architectural style. It is a profound symbol that resonates across humanity, the cosmic mountain. This is the axis mundi, the world axis, a sacred point where heaven and earth meet. In ancient Mesopotamia, the massive ziggurats were explicitly called stairways to the gods. their terraced levels a literal ascent to the divine. The Egyptians built their pyramids as ramps of light, designed to propel the pharaoh's soul directly to the eternal stars. In Mesoamerica, temples like El Castillo were not just tombs but active portals, places where priests and kings could communicate with deities and ancestors. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung might have seen this as a perfect example of the collective unconscious. He proposed that humanity shares a deep, inherited layer of the psyche, filled with universal symbols and patterns called archetypes. The cosmic mountain is one of these fundamental archetypes, a primordial image of connection and ascent that emerges spontaneously in cultures across time and space. This could explain the independent appearance of the pyramid, not as a transferred blueprint, but as a shared dream bubbling up from the very foundation of the human mind. It was the natural shape for a sacred space because it was already etched into our spiritual DNA. Yet, this profound psychological explanation invites another, more mysterious question. Was the choice of this shape purely symbolic, born from an innate human yearning, or did these ancient builders understand something more, something tangible about the form itself? Could the pyramid shape actually harness or focus a specific type of energy? This line of inquiry pulls us directly into the controversial and fascinating realm of pyramid power. The idea that pyramids might be more than just tombs or temples leads us directly into the realm of speculative science and energetic anomalies. For decades, amateur researchers and some scientists have claimed that the pyramid shape itself possesses unique properties. Anecdotal stories and informal experiments suggest that a model pyramid can mysteriously preserve food, dehydrate organic matter without decay, or even keep razor blades sharper for longer. The proposed mechanism often involves the shape focusing or harmonizing some form of subtle energy, perhaps related to the Earth's own magnetic fields or telluric currents that flow through the ground. While mainstream science largely dismisses these claims due to a lack of reproducible evidence under controlled conditions, they have fueled a compelling theory. Perhaps the ancient builders were not just spiritual architects, but also practical engineers of a forgotten earth science. Could they have intuitively understood that the pyramidal form could interact with these unseen forces? Proponents of this view suggest that sites like the Giza Plateau were not chosen at random. They might be powerful nodes on a planetary energy grid, and the pyramids themselves were built to act as amplifiers or stabilizers for these terrestrial forces, turning the entire structure into a kind of technological device. Whether these energetic theories hold any factual water is still hotly debated, but their persistence speaks to a deeper truth. They highlight the enduring, almost intuitive sense that there is more to these monuments than we currently understand. The universal adoption of this specific, complex form across the ancient world suggests its purpose was multifaceted, blending the spiritual with the potentially practical in ways we are still struggling to comprehend. This fascination with the pyramid's function naturally extends to another critical aspect of survival, one that required equally sophisticated engineering. To truly appreciate their genius, we must investigate the advanced water management systems that sustained the very civilizations that built these stone giants. These stone giants were not isolated monuments, but the central features of landscapes meticulously engineered to control water. The Giza Plateau was once a bustling waterfront. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a massive harbor and a network of canals, allowing builders to float multi-ton stone blocks right to the base of the pyramids. This was hydraulic engineering on a staggering scale, turning the Nile into a liquid conveyor belt for the world's heaviest cargo. But some researchers propose an even more radical function for the Great Pyramid itself. The so-called air shafts inside the structure, often discussed in relation to stellar alignments, may have also served a hydraulic purpose. Certain theories suggest that when connected to the plateau's ancient water table, the pyramid's internal chambers and shafts could have utilized principles of physics and resonance to act as a massive water pump or even an energy-generating device. While this remains highly speculative, it highlights how these structures might have been multi-functional machines, blending practical utility with cosmic alignment. This mastery of water is echoed across the world at Angkor in Cambodia. The Temple Mountains of Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom were surrounded by vast, man-made reservoirs known as barrays. These were not simple ponds, they were enormous hydraulic systems, some stretching for miles, designed to capture, store, and distribute monsoon rainwater throughout the year. This intricate network of canals and reservoirs sustained a massive urban population and supported intensive agriculture, turning the jungle into a managed, fertile landscape. The control of water was both a practical necessity and a profound spiritual act. In ancient societies, water symbolized purification, life, and the primordial chaos from which creation emerged. The pyramid, as the cosmic mountain, was the source of this life-giving water, with the temple at its summit representing the mythical home of the gods. The fusion of spiritual symbolism and advanced engineering reveals a world view where the environment was not something to be conquered, but a living system to be harmonized with. These builders possessed a holistic understanding, seeing no separation between the flow of water, the cycles of the stars, and the spiritual well-being of their people. The pyramid was the ultimate expression of this unity, a structure that managed terrestrial resources while reaching for the celestial realm. And if these monuments could channel the physical flow of water, could they also have been designed to channel something more subtle, like sound itself? This integration of form and function becomes acoustically apparent when we listen closely to the spaces inside these ancient wonders. The stones themselves seem to remember their purpose, echoing with a hidden dimension of sound. Step before the grand staircase of the Mayan Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza and clap your hands once. The echo that returns to you is not a simple reverberation. It is a sharp, chirping cry, an uncanny imitation of the sacred Quetzal bird, a creature deeply woven into their mythology. This is no accident of architecture. Far away, within the granite confines of the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber, the air itself behaves strangely. Specific sound frequencies do not just fade away there, they amplify and resonate, creating a standing wave that can be felt physically, a hum that vibrates deep in your bones. Researchers in the field of archaeoacoustics like Dr. Stephen J. Waller argue that these sonic phenomena were meticulously engineered. The ancient builders were not just shaping stone, they were sculpting the very air within their sacred spaces. The goal was to transform ritual. The repetitive drumming, chanting, and resonant frequencies generated inside these chambers could have altered brainwave patterns, facilitating trance states, deepening meditation, and creating the profound sensation of hearing the direct voice of a god. This was sacred technology, a deliberate fusion of spiritual intention with a sophisticated understanding of physics. To achieve such precise acoustic effects, the builders needed an intimate knowledge of how sound waves reflect, interfere, and resonate within a given space. This mastery over an invisible force like sound demonstrates a geometric and mathematical genius that applied to every facet of their work, including the most fundamental challenge of all, moving the mountains of stone required for their visions. The same minds that calculated celestial alignments and harmonic frequencies also solved the immense logistical puzzle of quarrying, transporting, and lifting blocks that weighed more than modern locomotives. The stone itself presents its own profound mystery, a puzzle locked within the mineral grain. How do you carve a mountain? In Egypt, the granite for the grandest chambers was not sourced locally. It was quarried in Aswan, a journey of over 500 miles up the Nile. This is not simple limestone, but granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. The official explanation tells us the Egyptians used simple copper chisels and saws. Yet copper is a soft metal, utterly incapable of cutting granite with the clean, deep grooves we find on the sarcophagi in the Great Pyramid. It would be like trying to carve a diamond with a stick of butter. This glaring inconsistency has led to alternative proposals. Perhaps they used a technique involving harder stone pounders or a slurry of abrasive sand with water, effectively creating a primitive but effective saw. Some point to enigmatic core samples drilled from granite blocks, which show spiral grooves so precise and deep that they suggest a drill bit with a consistent, immense pressure, something far beyond a simple bow drill. The evidence for such advanced machining, however, remains locked in fierce academic debate. The logistics of moving these multi-ton monoliths is an epic tale in itself. Imagine a 50-ton block of Aswan granite. Workers would have loaded it onto a massive wooden barge during the Nile's annual flood, floating it north with the current. Once near the plateau, they may have transferred it to a gigantic wooden sled, pulling it across a specially prepared path of wet, slick clay to reduce friction. This operation required the precise coordination of thousands of workers, a symphony of human effort. Across the ocean, the Maya faced a different, yet equally daunting challenge. They sourced their beautiful white limestone directly from local quarries, but their mastery lay in the shaping. They achieved flawless, seamless joints between massive blocks, creating smooth, steep temple walls that defied the jungle's relentless attempts to reclaim them. The parallel development of such sophisticated quarrying and logistical systems in isolated parts of the world is staggering. It is either a monumental testament to the universal spark of human ingenuity, solving the same immense problems independently, or it is a whisper of a shared instruction manual, a common technological heritage. This incredible effort to source and move mountains of stone was never just about construction. It was about creating something permanent, a machine built to track something even more constant than rock, the eternal dance of the heavens. The pyramids were, at their heart, colossal astronomical calendars. These stone calendars were locked in place, designed to track not just days but vast cosmic cycles. The dramatic serpent of light at Chichen Itza is more than a spectacle. It is a feat of astronomical engineering. To achieve that perfect alignment, where the shadow connects the pyramid's peak to the stone serpent head at its base, the Mayan architects needed to calculate the exact angle of the sun on the equinox with virtually no margin for error. This was not a happy accident. It was a deliberate and stunningly precise calibration of stone to sky, a way of making their calendar visible and alive for the entire community to witness. The pyramid itself became a clock, and its hands were the moving sun. This principle of turning architecture into a timekeeping instrument is found across the ancient world. Many pyramids contain narrow corridors or so-called air shafts that pierce through millions of tons of stone. These were not for ventilation, but for stargazing. A specific shaft in the Great Pyramid, for instance, was aligned to target the star Sirius, whose heliacal rising, its first appearance in the dawn sky, signaled the imminent flooding of the Nile. This celestial event was the trigger for the entire Egyptian agricultural year. When that star appeared in the shaft, it was a signal from the gods, a date stamped in the heavens and confirmed by the architecture on the ground. This global drive to mark celestial time points to a universal human quest. It was an attempt to find order in the cosmos, to predict the cycles of nature that govern survival, and to understand our small but conscious part within that grand, ticking mechanism. The very layout of these sacred complexes extends this celestial map from the vertical to the horizontal. The positions of pyramids relative to one another often mirror the positions of stars relative to each other, creating a permanent, earthly model of the heavens. This intricate dance between earth and sky, written in stone and shadow, reveals a mind that saw no separation between the temple and the telescope, between worship and measurement. And if these structures could so perfectly map the movements of the heavens, it makes you wonder what other profound truths about the ancient world might be hidden, not in their alignments, but in the very materials they used to build them. The placement of these monuments feels less like chance and more like a deliberate act of planetary engineering. Some researchers argue that the Great Pyramid sites are not isolated wonders, but interconnected nodes on a vast, invisible grid of sacred geometry. They propose that these locations were carefully chosen to align with significant geographical and even energetic points on the Earth itself. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is mathematically positioned at the center of the Earth's landmass, a point that balances all the continents. The north-south line of longitude that runs directly through the pyramid crosses over more land and less ocean than any other meridian on the planet. This cannot be a simple coincidence of ancient navigation. It reflects a breathtaking understanding of the entire Earth's shape and composition. The connections stretch across oceans. The difference in latitude between the Great Pyramid and the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan in Mexico is said to be a precise fraction of the Earth's total circumference. The odds of these two iconic structures, built by cultures with no known contact, landing in such a mathematically resonant relationship by pure accident, are astronomically low. These precise alignments form the basis of a controversial science known as geodesy, the measurement and understanding of the Earth's geometric shape. While mainstream scholars often dispute these specific claims, the sheer volume of these geometric relationships is difficult to ignore. They paint a picture of a planned, global network of sacred sites, a hidden architecture woven into the very skin of the planet. This idea forces us to ask a staggering question. Did these ancient cultures possess a unified map of the world, a shared knowledge of the Earth's dimensions so advanced it allowed them to position their greatest monuments in a coordinated, global pattern? The stones themselves seem to be placed according to a grand, hidden design, one we are only just beginning to decode. And if they could map the Earth with such precision, what other secrets of the universe might they have encoded into their work? The coordinates of these ancient sites may hold a numerical code. When we plot the latitude of the Great Pyramid of Giza and compare it to that of the Nazca lines in Peru, some researchers claim the relationship between them gives us a figure close to the mathematical constant pi. Similarly, the angular distance on the globe between Giza and the temple complex of Angkor Wat in Cambodia is said to be exactly 1/7 of the Earth's circumference. These are not rough estimates, but precise fractions and constants that emerge from the specific placement of these monuments. The implications are staggering. To achieve this, the builders would have needed a comprehensive understanding of the Earth as a sphere, the ability to calculate latitude and longitude with incredible precision, and a unified system of measurement that spanned the entire planet. This points toward a level of global cartography and mathematical sophistication that we do not attribute to any known ancient civilization. How could they have done this without satellites, without precise clocks for longitude, and without a shared global language? The most controversial explanation is that they inherited this knowledge from a much older, advanced culture that had mapped the entire world. Yet, skeptics offer a powerful counter-argument. They call this phenomenon apophenia, the innate human tendency to find meaningful patterns in random noise. If you take enough points on a map, you are bound to find some that align by pure chance, especially when using our modern, hyper-accurate GPS coordinates to measure the placements of ancient sites. The debate hinges on a simple but profound question. Are we witnessing the ghost of a lost global civilization's blueprint, or are we simply connecting dots that were never meant to be connected? To find an answer, we must look beyond the raw coordinates and into the symbolic language of the numbers themselves. These mathematical constants were not just practical tools, they were sacred. Pi and the golden ratio were seen as divine signatures, the fundamental ratios that the universe used to build itself. By embedding these numbers into the very placement of their temples, the ancient builders were not just mapping the Earth, they were consecrating it. They were turning the entire planet into a sacred geometric diagram, a physical manifestation of cosmic order. This transforms the world from a collection of random lands into a single, intentional creation, designed according to a beautiful and mysterious mathematical plan. These numbers were a sacred language, a code for speaking with the cosmos. Across the ancient world, specific numerals held profound symbolic power, and the builders meticulously wove them into the very fabric of their pyramids. The number 4 is a perfect example, found from the four-sided base of the Great Pyramid to the four stairways of a Mayan temple. This was not just a practical shape. It represented the four cardinal directions, the four winds, the four pillars of the world, embodying the universal concept of stability and earthly order. The square base was a symbol of a stable, perfected world, and the pyramid rising from it was the axis connecting that world to the heavens above. This symbolic vocabulary extended far beyond the number 4. In Mesopotamia, the massive ziggurats were often built with 7 distinct tiers. Each level was dedicated to one of the 7 classical planets visible to the naked eye, the wandering celestial bodies that included the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Climbing the ziggurat was a spiritual journey through the planetary spheres, an ascent from the earthly realm to the domain of the gods. For the Maya, different numbers held the keys to time itself. The number 9 was sacred, representing the 9 levels of the underworld. The number 13 was equally vital, signifying the 13 levels of the upper world and forming the backbone of their complex calendar system. When you find a pyramid with 9 stepped levels or a calendar cycle based on the number 13, you are not just looking at a random count. You are reading a direct statement of their cosmological beliefs, carved in stone. The repetition of these exact numbers across continents is astonishing. How could the importance of 7 or 13 emerge independently in cultures separated by oceans and millennia? It suggests a shared symbolic language, a universal code that transcended spoken words. This numerology was far from simple superstition. It was a sophisticated philosophical system, a way of encoding the fundamental principles of the universe into a tangible, physical form. By building these sacred numbers into their structures, the ancients were not merely constructing buildings. They were creating resonant objects, tuning forks for the cosmos, designed to harmonize with the very energies they believed governed existence. This leads us to a compelling and controversial idea. Were these pyramids, layered with sacred numbers and aligned to the stars, actually designed to harness the invisible energies of the Earth itself? This idea of pyramids as cosmic resonators finds a voice in the hum of the planet itself. Some researchers propose that the Earth emits a constant, low-frequency vibration, a fundamental note in the symphony of our solar system. This concept, known as planetary harmonics, suggests that celestial bodies generate specific frequencies as they move through space. Investigators like Bruce Cathy have theorized that ancient sacred sites were not placed at random, but were deliberately positioned at powerful nodes where these terrestrial and cosmic vibrations intersect and amplify. In this view, the pyramid was more than a symbol. It was a technological instrument. Its precise geometry and mass were calculated to act as a resonator, tuning into these planetary frequencies, much like a crystal glass vibrates when a singer hits the perfect note. The Great Pyramid's dimensions have even been linked to the Schumann resonance, the foundational electromagnetic heartbeat of the Earth's atmosphere, a steady pulse of roughly 7.83 cycles per second that surrounds and sustains all life. While mainstream science remains skeptical, classifying this as alternative theory, it offers a compelling bridge between spiritual intuition and physical mechanism. It proposes that the ancient builders perceived the world not as dead matter, but as a living, vibrating entity, and they constructed their monuments to harmonize with its essential energy. This transforms the global network of pyramids from a collection of separate tombs and temples into a unified planetary system, a finely tuned instrument designed to stabilize or converse with the very energy of the Earth. To see how this theory translates from abstract idea to tangible stone, we can look at a specific, jaw-dropping case study that lays the geometric parallels bare. The evidence for a shared blueprint becomes undeniable when you place the plans of Giza and Teotihuacan side by side. The three Great Pyramids of Egypt, arranged in their iconic offset pattern, find a startling reflection thousands of miles away in Mexico. Along Teotihuacan's Avenue of the Dead, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Temple of the Feathered Serpent are positioned in a nearly identical spatial relationship. The angles between these structures, the proportions of their distances, they all echo the same geometric fingerprint. Even the scale is eerily similar. The base perimeter of the Pyramid of the Sun is only about 3% smaller than that of the Great Pyramid, a negligible difference given the vast separation in time and culture. When researchers overlay the layouts of both sites using specific scales and rotational angles, the two complexes align with an uncanny precision. It is as if you are looking at two different architectural interpretations of the same master plan, one rendered in Egyptian limestone and the other in Mexican volcanic rock. The statistical probability of this occurring by pure chance is so infinitesimally small that it forces a single, staggering conclusion. This is not a case of vague, inspirational similarity. This is a direct correlation, a deliberate encoding of the same complex geometric knowledge into two of the ancient world's most important sacred sites. This case study stands as one of the most powerful visual arguments for a unified architectural and astronomical science. Yet, this revelation immediately presents us with an even greater puzzle. If this knowledge was indeed shared, how did it cross the vast, seemingly impassable barrier of the Atlantic Ocean? The existence of this mirrored design thrusts us directly into the heated and enduring mystery of transoceanic contact. The geometric mirroring between Giza and Teotihuacan presents a puzzle that cannot be easily dismissed. How did the same complex architectural plan appear on two different continents? Mainstream archaeology offers a compelling psychological answer. It suggests that all human minds are wired similarly, a concept known as psychic unity. When faced with the same basic challenges and inspirations, like building a stable, impressive structure that reaches for the gods, different cultures will naturally and independently arrive at a similar form, the pyramid. It is the path of least resistance, a logical culmination of human ingenuity. In this view, the pyramid is an inevitable invention, like the bow and arrow or the wheel, emerging wherever civilization reaches a certain level of ambition. Yet, the evidence on the ground makes this explanation feel incomplete. The parallels are not just in the general shape, but in the precise mathematics, the astronomical alignments, and the specific, complex ratios we have already explored. This has led other researchers to champion a far more controversial idea, that of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact. Could ancient seafarers have navigated the vast oceans long before the accepted timeline of history? Proponents point to reed boats depicted in ancient Mesopotamia that bear a striking resemblance to those used on Lake Titicaca in South America. They highlight shared artistic motifs, like the serpent deity found in both Mayan and Egyptian iconography, and of course, the undeniable architectural conversation between the pyramids themselves. The debate reaches its peak with a single, baffling forensic discovery. Chemical analysis of Egyptian mummies, including the famous pharaoh Ramses II, has revealed the presence of trace elements of cocaine and nicotine. These are plants that were, according to all known history, exclusive to the Americas until after Columbus. How did they find their way into the bodies of Egyptian nobility thousands of years earlier? For those who argue for transoceanic contact, this is a smoking gun, proof that trade routes, however sporadic, connected the two worlds. Skeptics, however, question the findings, suggesting potential contamination of the samples, or proposing that now extinct Old World plants might have produced similar chemical compounds. The truth remains shrouded in scientific controversy. Perhaps the most reasonable answer lies not in choosing one extreme over the other, but in embracing a more complex and messy reality. Human history is not a simple story of complete isolation or constant connection. It is a tapestry woven with threads of brilliant, independent invention and fragile, forgotten threads of contact. A lone boat blown off course could have carried a single scribe or architect whose knowledge forever altered the course of a culture. Such sporadic encounters would leave little archaeological trace, but their intellectual impact could have been profound, seeding ideas that then blossomed independently in fertile new ground. This is not about finding a single answer, but about understanding the intricate flow of ancient ideas, a current that may have moved in ways we are only beginning to appreciate. And if knowledge could travel across oceans, then what other profound truths might have been carried not by sailors, but by the very stones they used to build their monuments? Perhaps the most plausible explanation lies in a subtle blend of both ideas. The fundamental pyramid shape, the cosmic mountain, could indeed be a universal archetype, a form that feels spiritually and structurally right to the human mind everywhere. But the advanced geometry, the precise astronomical alignments, and the shared complex numbers feel more like a specific language, a technical curriculum that requires a teacher. This suggests a scenario where the grand vision was universal, but the sophisticated methods for achieving it were passed along through a hidden network. This is where we must consider the role of a secretive, global priestly class. Imagine a small, highly educated group of individuals, the master builders and astronomer priests of the ancient world. They were the guardians of a profound knowledge system encompassing mathematics, astronomy, and geomancy. Their expertise was so valuable that they may have been exchanged between royal courts, much like master artisans during the Renaissance. A single journey by one such individual, carried by trade winds or overland routes we no longer recognize, could have been enough to transfer the core principles of sacred geometry from one culture to another. This knowledge would not have been for public consumption. It would have been closely guarded, taught only to initiates to maintain the power and mystery of the ruling class. This explains why the outer symbols and styles of the pyramids differ so greatly from Egypt to Mexico, reflecting local gods and customs, while the inner blueprints, the mathematical soul of the structures, remain nearly identical. The local population saw a temple to their own sun god, but the architects building it were working from the same universal set of geometric rules. The evidence for this is in the stones themselves, a silent testament to a brotherhood of builders who spoke a common language of form and number, a language that transcended the spoken word and left its signature on the most enduring monuments our planet has ever known. These intellectual elites were the true architects of the ancient world. In Egypt, the sesh, or scribes, were far more than record keepers. They were the master mathematicians and engineers, the ones who could calculate the slope of a pyramid face and chart the path of a star with equal precision. Their knowledge was a state secret, a source of immense power carefully guarded from the general population. Across the Atlantic, a similar class existed among the Maya. The Arkin, meaning he of the sun, were the astronomer priests. They spent lifetimes observing the heavens from towering observatories, tracking the complex cycles of Venus and predicting eclipses with astonishing accuracy. Their intellectual labor was not a hobby, it was the very foundation of royal authority and cosmic order. Both groups, separated by an ocean, arrived at the same profound conclusions because they were asking the same fundamental questions of the universe, using the same tool, the human mind, applied to the same canvas, the night sky. The logical convergence of their discoveries is a powerful argument for independent genius. When brilliant, dedicated people across the globe study the same stars and wrestle with the same structural engineering problems, it is natural that their solutions would begin to echo one another. Yet, the sheer specificity of the parallels, the identical choice of the golden ratio and pi, hints at something more than parallel evolution. This is where the idea of an invisible college emerges. We are not talking about a formal university, but a fragile, informal network of knowledge keepers. Imagine a lone seafarer, a scribe traveling with a trade caravan, or a captured scholar brought to a foreign court. Through these rare and tenuous threads of contact, core ideas could have been exchanged. A single conversation between a Mesopotamian priest and an Indus Valley merchant about the movement of Venus could have seeded an entire astronomical tradition. This would not require mass migration or fleets of ships, just the occasional, pivotal transfer of a key concept from one elite guardian to another. The knowledge itself was so valuable that it would have been preserved and refined over centuries, which explains the clear evolution in pyramid design. Look at the step pyramids of Saqqara that predate the smooth-sided giants at Giza. You can see the architects learning, experimenting, and perfecting their craft over generations. This was a cumulative science passed down within closed priestly schools, each generation building upon the discoveries of the last. They were not just building tombs, they were engaged in a multi-generational project to harmonize humanity with the cosmos, and the pyramids were their permanent, silent library of stone. The evolution of pyramid design reveals a story of trial and error written in stone. Look at the earliest pyramid in Egypt, the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. It began as a traditional, flat-roofed mastaba tomb, but the visionary architect Imhotep had a grander idea. He stacked 6 mastabas of decreasing size on top of one another, creating a stairway to the heavens. This was a revolutionary yet imperfect first attempt. Within just a few generations, the Egyptians learned from this experiment. At the nearby Bent Pyramid, you can see this learning process frozen in time. Its builders started with an incredibly steep angle, but halfway up, the structure showed alarming signs of stress. They made a swift correction, finishing the pyramid with a much gentler slope. This practical failure was a critical lesson in engineering and physics. By the time they built the Great Pyramid of Giza, they had perfected the formula, achieving those flawless, smooth sides that have defined the pyramid in our imagination ever since. This was not a static tradition passed down unchanged. It was a dynamic, local process of technological refinement. the same pattern of growth unfolded in Mesoamerica. The Great Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan was not built in a single campaign. Archaeologists have discovered that it encloses an older, smaller pyramid within its heart. Successive rulers literally built their legacy upon the foundations of their predecessors, each new layer enlarging and enhancing the sacred structure. This was a physical manifestation of cultural continuity, a way of honoring the past while reaching for new heights. So we see two distinct paths of evolution. In Egypt, it was a linear progression toward an ideal geometric form. In Mesoamerica, it was a cyclical process of encapsulation and renewal. Yet through all this local variation, the core principles remained unshakably consistent. The alignment to cardinal directions, the encoding of pi and the golden ratio, the function as a celestial observatory, these were not variables to be experimented with. They were the non-negotiable constants, the sacred rules of the blueprint. This points to a powerful synthesis. The foundational knowledge, the core curriculum of sacred geometry and astronomy, appears to have been a universal starting point. But how each culture implemented that knowledge, how they solved the engineering puzzles and expressed the spiritual meaning, was a magnificent display of local creativity. They all began with the same sheet of music, but each civilization composed its own unique symphony in stone. Our digital eyes in the sky are peeling back layers of earth and time. Light detection and ranging, or LIDAR, is a revolutionary technology that fires millions of laser pulses from an aircraft down through dense jungle canopies. By measuring how long each pulse takes to return, it creates a detailed three-dimensional map of the ground surface, effectively making the trees disappear. This is how researchers in Guatemala recently uncovered thousands of previously unknown Mayan structures, entire cities and complex networks of pyramids hidden for centuries. It is like wiping a foggy window clean and seeing a lost world for the first time. On the other side of the world, in the deserts of Egypt, ground-penetrating radar sends electromagnetic waves deep into the sand, revealing the ghostly outlines of buried chambers, walls, and even potential voids deep within the Giza Plateau. These are not tools of speculation anymore, they are instruments of hard discovery, providing a flood of new data. With this wealth of new information, sophisticated computer software can now perform analyses that would have been the stuff of dreams a generation ago. Researchers can create precise digital overlays of the Giza and Teotihuacan site plans, rotating and scaling them to test their geometric relationships with mathematical certainty. They can run simulations to see how the sun and stars would have aligned with a pyramid's corridors on any given day 5,000 years ago. This technological renaissance is transforming the field from a debate of ideas into a science of evidence. Each newly discovered pyramid, each precisely mapped alignment, is another data point. We are no longer just connecting dots on a map and wondering. We are gathering a critical mass of information that is slowly, methodically, building an undeniable case for a shared, sophisticated understanding that spans the globe. The mystery is not fading with these discoveries, it is deepening, becoming more precise and more fascinating than ever before. Of course, skeptics offer a vital counterpoint to these grand theories of ancient connection. They argue that we are witnessing a classic case of apophenia, the innate human tendency to find meaningful patterns in random data. Our brains are hardwired for this, a survival mechanism that once helped us spot predators in the grass. But when applied to ancient sites, this same instinct can lead us to connect dots that were never meant to be connected. With thousands of pyramids, temples, and mounds scattered across the globe, pure statistics dictate that some will inevitably align with certain stars or fall into interesting geometric relationships simply by accident. The sheer number of possibilities makes coincidence a far more likely explanation than a lost global civilization. Confirmation bias then amplifies this effect. Once a researcher believes in a hidden pattern, they naturally gravitate toward evidence that supports it, while unconsciously dismissing or minimizing measurements that do not fit the desired narrative. This is not about deception, but about the subtle ways our minds shape what we see. Take the celestial alignments, for example. The Orion correlation theory, which links the Giza pyramids to the belt of Orion, has faced significant astronomical challenges. Critics rightly point out that due to the slow wobble of Earth's axis, a phenomenon known as precession, the stars were not in the exact positions we see today when the pyramids were built. Even in 2500 BC, the match was not a perfect overlay. The fit requires a degree of artistic interpretation, stretching the correlation to make it work. Similarly, when we measure these vast structures, where exactly do we take our reading? Choosing a different corner of a pyramid's base or a different point on a sprawling temple complex can produce dramatically different numbers, allowing one to selectively find the mathematical constant they are looking for. A truly rigorous scientific approach demands that we consider this null hypothesis with seriousness. It asks us to be brutally honest about the data and to acknowledge that the incredible ingenuity of ancient cultures might be impressive enough on its own without needing a mysterious, shared teacher. The true wonder may not be a single global blueprint, but the spectacular, independent brilliance of humanity itself. So where does this leave us with so many threads of evidence woven together? When we step back and look at the whole tapestry, the pattern is undeniable. The same geometry whispers from the stones of Egypt and Mexico. The same stars guided the hands of builders separated by oceans. The same complex numbers, pi and the golden ratio, form the hidden bedrock of structures that should have no business sharing a common language. It stretches credibility to its breaking point to call all of this a magnificent series of coincidences. The most satisfying explanation lies in a middle path, a hybrid of two powerful ideas. The human mind everywhere seems drawn to the pyramid as a symbol of ascent, a cosmic mountain. This psychic unity gives us the shared form, but the incredibly precise mathematics and astronomy that feels like something else entirely. This points to a core body of sophisticated knowledge, a discovered science of the universe that was unearthed in deep antiquity. This knowledge concerning the fundamental ratios of creation and the cycles of the cosmos did not need to be constantly reinvented. Instead, it was likely carried sporadically and tenuously across the globe. Imagine a single master builder, a traveling astronomer priest, whose rare journey could transfer this celestial curriculum from one culture to another. This knowledge was so profound it was guarded, taught only to initiates, and then expressed through the unique artistic and spiritual voice of each civilization. The pyramids, therefore, are more than just tombs or temples. They are a testament to a lost chapter in our history, a time when humanity, in its scattered corners, shared a unified vision of a cosmos built on number, rhythm, and harmony. They are the silent, stubborn library of a forgotten age of intellectual achievement. The hidden geometry binding these ancient monuments is far more than a simple architectural coincidence. It stands as a profound challenge to the story we tell ourselves about human history, a story of slow, isolated progress. From the golden ratio encoded in Giza's limestone to the solar calendar cast in stone at Chichen Itza, these structures articulate a universal vocabulary of mathematics, astronomy, and a deep spiritual yearning. The evidence laid out before us does not point to a single, simple answer. Perhaps a lost civilization seeded this knowledge across the globe. Maybe tenuous threads of transoceanic contact allowed key ideas to cross impossible divides. Or the pyramid itself is a fundamental archetype, a shape that rises naturally from the human psyche when it seeks to touch the divine. Whatever the origin, the connections themselves are undeniable. They force us to reimagine our ancestors not as primitive people, but as brilliant engineers and cosmic philosophers. They were master observers who deciphered the rhythms of the heavens and then built magnificent machines to harmonize their world with the celestial dance above. This puzzle is far from complete. With every new technological scan and every fresh excavation, we uncover another piece. So we are left to wonder, what other secrets are these ancient stones waiting to reveal? What do you believe connects these distant cultures? Share your own thoughts and theories in the comments below, and subscribe to join us as we continue this journey into the unknown.